just love music. They run the show at night. Dropping beats and lineup tips, turning waiver wire into light. Fast lane pickups, midnight moves, setting rosters right. They'll tell you who to start and who to bite the fight. Listen to sports rivals, rockin' renegades, crank it loud, crank it proud. Wanna win your fantasy league? Join the renegade crowd. John and Ralph know the way. They'll guide you through the fray. Starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Tune in and play. From sleeper calls to breakout stars, they break it down and play by play. Stats and stories, grit and guts, they sharpen up your day. Trade advice and matchup gold, they hustle for your pay. Putting fantasy in overdrive, carving out the way. Listen to sports rivals, rockin' renegades, crank it loud, crank it proud. Wanna win your fantasy league? Join the renegade crowd. John and Ralph know the way. They'll guide you through the fray. Starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Tune in and play. Late night hustle, early morning reads, they're scanning every game. Fast lane pickups, timely hits, they've got the instincts and the flame. No fluff, no noise, just real talk, no two hosts the same. John and Ralph, your fantasy compass, staking out the claim. Listen to sports rivals, rockin' renegades, crank it loud, crank it proud. Wanna win your fantasy league? Join the renegade crowd. John and Ralph know the way. They'll guide you through the fray. Starts and sits, waiver wire pickups. Tune in and play. Listen to sports rivals, rockin' renegades, rock your roster every day. Fast lane pickups, John and Ralph know the way.
Hey, fantasy football fans, and I can't believe I'm saying this. This is week 9 of the football season. I'm your host, Ralph. Welcome. Welcome to Sports 50 Rockin' Renegades. We're here for all your fantasy football talk, all your fantasy football needs, your pickups, your starts, your sits, and any questions you might have. But our sponsor, First Do Plumbing. If you have a clogged drain, you need a sewer line fixed, they are the people to call. First Do actually signed on with Sports Bible here because the owner, JT, John Todd, he was always having problems backing up his sewer all the time. First Do Plumbing helped him out. You ever need a clogged sink, clogged toilet, you just need some plumbing around, or if you even need pipe laid, you got a tough job, call First Do Plumbing, 412-979-5402. And I want to bring on our guru of the gridiron, our co-host for tonight, John. What jersey you got on tonight, John?
See me? I got the Terrell Owens 2009 Buffalo Bills throwback. Hey, and what I was going to say, too, you're talking about plumbing and JT. You know, that was quite a crack, man.
See, the problem with him is, though, he likes to eat on the toilet. He'll finish like half a sandwich and flush the rest. So,
yeah, that's
you never knew what they found in his clogged sewer, But hey, John, let's get started. How about another plug, man? How's that Fastlane coffee going?
Well, you guys had a chance to try it, and
it's fantastic.
JT said he loves it. Yeah, I mean it's smooth, delicious, and it was smooth as our Fastlane Player of the Week, man. James Cook
James
16
Cook,
and two
what a
touchdowns.
game, man.
I'll tell you what, and I was playing, unfortunately playing against him and Brees Hall that week. So, man, James, you hurt me badly, brother. But 216, two touchdowns, and 19 carries, man. That's more than a fast lane player of the week.
No doubt, well deserved too, man. Most of his runs were to the outside too. I mean, the
That's right.
dude was motoring, man. He was. What a great game! What a great game by James Cook.
Right.
Just fantastic. So it's been a season, right, John? It's been a season. We just want to say to you guys out there, don't get discouraged, and we have another week of more injuries, huh?
It never stops. I mean, every week we look at something, and I go down my roster and like every league, and all I see is a Q next to the names. If it's not IR or bye.
There's Phil. What's Phil say? Ben Slay, he's a liability. Talking about some IDP, Phil. There are a lot of liabilities on that team. Porter is way too handsy. So many penalties. I don't even know where to begin. First off, that backfield is way overpaid.
Right.
It's been really bad. I don't want to get into this here because we're not here to bash the Steelers, but I chalk a lot of it up to coaching. I chalk a lot of that up to, you lose back-to-back weeks to teams you should have beat. Let's face it, Green Bay is good, but they're not that good. The Steelers should have still beat them.
Right.
I hate watching the sidelines of, Tomlin look like a deer in headlights, but, that's here nor there. We're not bashing the Steelers, but I agree with you, Phil. Slay should be benched. Ramsey should be benched. Porter should be gone. I don't know. They need to do something with that defense. The only thing that looks good, well, let's face it, they don't even have a pass rush.
No.
If Watt's not getting in there, I'm not seeing them putting anything up. Porter is doing a lot of grabbing, but I've never had him grab me at the bar. So no matter what comes across the screen.
You're right about that, though. Slay is that whole backfield. I mean, we could talk about this all night with how bad that team is, and they're never prepared. They're getting beat in every phase on defense. And then for him to get in that press conference and start talking about how, the offense and questioning the offense, this guy needs to go 15 years ago. And Ralph, I know you agree. I've had it. It's disgusting that we continue to talk about this, but
I got to tell you, John. We talked about this at the beginning of the season. Is it getting close? Is it getting close to the Rodgers Tomlin blow up?
It's coming.
I see it. I see the writing coming, man. It's coming. The writing's on the wall. It's going to happen. But anyway, we're here to talk about fantasy, not about the bad Steelers defense. So once again, if you guys have any questions about who to stick in your lineup, you have injury problems like everybody does, we're going to go through some pickups first this week. So speaking of injuries, your boy Scatterbro, bad ankle injury, man. They're looking like 6 months on him. So now it goes back to Tyrone Tracy, John, and then maybe even a sprinkling of some Singletary in there. I'm sure most of Tracy might not be out there. People still might have held on to him, but Singletary might be there. What's your thoughts on the running backs and the Giants?
Well, that injury to Scatterbo was terrible. I mean that I know you see injuries like that, and it seems like we see one every year now. But that one was brutal, and I hope the kid's able to come back because he was having a great year. I mean, as a rookie, the amount of touches and the way he runs the ball and the way he plays. But
I've seen the comparisons to him. I heard him talking on the game. They said he reminds me of Rocky Bleier. I tell you what, he reminds me of a smaller Mike Allstott, man. The dude's a bull. He's a beast, man. Yeah, we hope he gets healthy. The Giants are looking. John Riggins, that's a good one. That's a good comparison. That's a real good comparison. But Giants are looking good. Dart's looking like the real deal. Next year with Scatterboo coming back, and then Neighbors. Hopefully Neighbors here as well. I mean, you're looking like a good team here in the next maybe couple of years.
That's right. I mean, and I know Brian Dable's smiling at least a little bit now because his at least a little bit of heat's off of him. But like you said, that team, there's a lot of talent there. You talk about, you're talking about, like Jackson Dart and obviously Scatterboo, in that receiving core, but you have Darius Slayton as well.
Even the guy that I actually traded for this week because I needed a tight end to throw in was Theo Johnson, the tight end. The
Another
kid's
good
he's getting like 4 or 5 targets a week. If you're looking for a tight end in there, pick him up. I mean, it's a great guy who just needs some catches.
That's right. I mean, he's targeted regularly. He's starting to build the trust with Jackson Dart. I think it's going to be a good team in the next couple of years if they can hold it together. That's the thing.
I agree, but Tracy might or might not be out there. Like I said, he was rostered in most leagues. Most people didn't drop him. Right. Singletary should definitely be out there. I don't know how many touches Singletary is going to get, but he should still see 5, 6, 7 touches a week, just to give Tracy that break.
Yeah, he's a good change of pace for Tracy. I mean, they'll get, whoever the hot hand is, but I know they're gonna lean a little bit more on Tracy, from what we've seen, obviously in the past and the season he had. So.
What did Tim say? 49ers broke an ankle the same. Didn't the 49ers break his ankle the same way as a skateboard? Oh God! But I mean, what else are we looking at, John? I mean, if we're sticking with running backs, Pacheco just went down with the Chiefs. It's looking like if you have Hunt or if Hunt's still out there, Hunt's your man to pick up. But Rashad Smith, granted he only got like 3 or 4 touches this week, but it might be a guy that's going to get some catches out of the backfield. If he gets maybe a little more playing time, 6, 7 touches, maybe about 4 or 5 passes out of the backfield, it might be a guy who might be able to put up some points for you with all these bye weeks coming up.
Yeah, you just mentioned that backfield, and I look at Isaiah Pacheco, and when is this guy ever going to break out? I think this is one of the players in a league that you see all this potential. The guy runs hard, plays like crazy, just doesn't get enough touches in that offense, at least in my opinion. I think that's somebody that obviously has some trade potential there, some value, for another team. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but I think it will happen next year. And, Kareem Hunt, I've had him on my bench, the whole year so far. And it's like, man, I got to play this guy.
Yeah, got to now, right?
Yeah, you have to now with the red zone touches that he gets and now catching passes in the red zone. So that's, him and Smith. I think Smith is going to be the future. I think that's a good combo. I think, Pacheco, we're starting to see the end of his life in KC. I really do.
Man, it happened with those KC running backs too, right?
Right.
I mean, you had, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, before that.
Right.
They've had the journeyman of running backs coming in and out. But like you said, maybe Smith is the next guy up, if he's out there in your leagues, take a chance on him. We're talking about, the Taco Wednesdays, guys you want to take a chance on. Let's switch to receiver. With Calvin Ridley in Tennessee being hurt, what about the Dyke? What about the Dyke receiver on that team, huh?
We talked about that, and it's a tough one to say, but you want to go out and get this guy. I mean, he's getting the targets, he's making the plays. I mean, if you got a Dyke on your team,
you might as well have one.
You might as well have a guy that's going to win you a fantasy championship.
Hey, who else could say that? But Shamir Dyke, you're looking over the last 2 weeks. I think it was like he had like 5 targets the week before, 8 targets this week. 4 for 70, 1 touchdown, 7 for 93. Putting up better numbers than actually Calvin Ridley was at the beginning, right?
Right.
He's starting to come in his own. Shamir Dyke is probably a nice pickup if he's still out there. And to be truthful, I think he's only rostered in 20-some% of most leagues. So if you have some bench, if you can stash a guy, maybe look forward to Shamir Dyke, put him on your team.
Yeah, if you're in a dynasty league, I mean, grab him up right away and just let him sit. He's building a chemistry with Ward. I mean, we see at least some spark out of that offense with those two.
JT's in the background showing his age about the Pegasus, right? And JT, you never stick your finger in the Dyke because that'll get your ass beat. By the way.
This is why this is the Renegade show,
It
everyone.
sure,
This is why
it
it's it,
sure is. You never know what we're going to get, right?
especially from the guy in the back there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Tim came across Fred Warner with a busted ankle. You know what? That does hurt. You know,
Bad luck.
San Francisco. That's brutal. But you did have what's his name? Oh Christ, what's the other linebacker that just came back? For them. Escaping me. But the Warner thing would hurt, with the busted ankle in there. You know what? I should have thought about that for the IDP players. Looking for linebackers. You could possibly pick up. But there's that one rookie kid. He still might be out there. He had a bum week this week, and there's the kid out of Dallas that's playing middle now. Shamir, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's
So,
doing very well. Yeah, I looked at his stats the other day.
yeah, if you're looking for a linebacker, if you're in IDP leagues, you can play a linebacker every week. You're looking for a guy on a bench. Check out that kid. Rookie, if he was a fifth round pick, John? If I'm not mistaken, but he was a later
Yeah,
pick.
he was
by
mid
Dallas,
round.
wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was later. Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember. I mean, Christ, I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, let alone where these guys went. But
He's on the field a lot too. The way that Dallas defense plays. So, if you're looking for a guy that's going to make a million tackles, this is a guy. I mean, there's things like that you need to look for. When you're playing football.
And I'm gonna beat on the Dallas defense here when we talk about the starts and sits. But hey, before we get into starts and sits, John, do you ever have some plumbing problems?
Always have plumbing problems.
Never had a problem laying pipe though, right? You just had plumbing problems. But first, do plumbing. If you have some water problems, you have your clogs, your backups, give them a call, 412-979-5402. Tell them JT sent you. They will get any clog fixed for you. They'll come out day and night, weekends. Might charge you a little bit extra, but you can always count on those guys to be there for you. First, do plumbing. Give them a ring if you have a problem. Let's look over start and sits for this week, John. And we've been talking back and forth, and starts and who you want to start, who I want to start. You want to go first for a quarterback? Who do you want to start this week?
I'm starting Dak Prescott this week against the Cardinals. I mean, with that receiving core, you're starting to see CeeDee Lamb get a little more involved. Obviously, Pickens and Jake Ferguson too is another guy. He's having a great year. I mean, that's one of the guys. You didn't have him at the top of your list, but he's obviously getting there. I like Dak this week against the Cardinals in Dallas too.
Very nice. John, I'm going on the other opposite end of that. And believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I'm going with Kyler Murray this week. The reason I'm going with Kyler Murray is because of the Dallas defense.
Right.
The Cowboys are number one, allowing points per quarterbacks. Your average quarterback score is almost 24 points per game. There is.
Yeah, they're not stopping anybody.
God. I have to go out on a limb and say that I think Kyler Murray is going to be in the top 10 of quarterbacks this week. And I can't believe I'm saying either because I'm not a big fan of the guy.
Safely.
Maybe
coming off an injury too.
Yeah, it's coming back off an injury. It's a little skeptical, but I'm going out here. I'm taking a chance, and I'm starting Kyler Murray.
I think it's a great start. Great start.
What about any running back you want to start, John?
Yeah, we're going back to the Cardinals and my man Bam Knight. This guy is he's getting the carries now. He's a tough runner. Dallas can't stop anybody. And like I said, high scoring game. We're going to see a lot of red zone opportunities here. If these guys aren't running around like James Cook did last week against the Panthers, against Dallas, this is a high scoring game. I mean, you heard it here first. Wednesday night, Ralph and I know about high scoring. Man, we better be right though that I'm saying it live like this.
The night rider is gonna show up for you, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna start him this week too in our league.
Nice.
I'm gonna get
so you got it.
Bam.
Yeah, I'm actually starting this week, not in our league, but the other dynasty league I'm in, is Vidal from the Chargers. Going against the Titans, the guy has scored over 19 points in his last 2 out of 3, games.
Right.
The guy's been looking amazing behind that line. But in the Titans they've allowed 6 running backs to score over 16 plus points so far up until week 9. So
Right.
this is a guy you're looking at. If you're looking for a guy to plug in, obviously your bye weeks are coming up. If you picked him up, Mario Hampton though, just so you know, he's ready to come back off of IR soon within the next week or so. So Hampton comes in, he's the guy that gets plugged in. Right. But all right now is the start for this week against Tennessee for me.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he's filled in well. Scoring touchdowns, getting opportunities. And that's a good team right there. I mean, if they could continue to play solid, without having that glitch here and there that the Chargers always seem to do. I don't think Harbaugh is going to let that happen. I think you're going to start to see the running game become a little more, prominent here with this team. The receiving core, we already know all about that. The way Herbert's been playing too has been sick. Hampton comes back, look out.
Herbert's he's been a number 3 or 4 quarterback in most leagues. If you look at that, behind, Mahomes, and I mean, the guy's he's been stellar, man. He's been on fire.
Yes.
So let's look for some receivers. Who do you got this week at receiver, John? Who you starting?
We're not even gonna talk receiver. We're gonna talk tight end.
Oh, okay.
That's what I got on my list. And we were talking Steelers earlier and how they can't stop anybody. And the tight end is something we've been talking about for a decade that they can't stop. So everybody out there that has Tyler Warren, you're starting him. You might be starting his brothers, his cousins. Anybody that has to do with this guy, you're starting against that Steeler defense. I mean, I don't understand why they don't do anything about this, as it's been an issue forever. But, you're smiling if you're a Tyler Warren owner in fantasy football this week.
So not only we all know that the Steelers can't stop the tight ends, but, I mean, you look at the game plans. Every week I watch these guys like these big stars against the Steelers go out. Going against, Minnesota, it's the same thing we talk about it constantly. You can't stop Jefferson. You can't stop Chase. It's constant. That brings the same thing we talked about is the Steeler, their defensive backs. It's you would think if you had Slay, Ramsey, and Porter, you think it'd be solid. I was actually happy with that going into this year. Now I don't know so much, but but I'm going to look for my tight end or receiver start. I'm going to go receiver, John. But I'm going to look for a game that's actually in our divisional game, and it's against the Bengals. But I'm going to go with Rome Odunze. With the Bears, I mean, he's turned into the top option for Williams, right? You're seeing DJ Moore fall off. Right. You see a couple to the tight ends, but I mean, he's eating up 26% of all targets are actually going to Odunze. The Bengals defense is terrible. They're second most in passing yards against. So I think Williams and I think Odunze eat against the Bengals this week.
I think so too. And anytime you're looking at the way the Bengals play, it's a high scoring game. At least with Flacco in there with those receivers. Odunze, if you get to watch, that team, they didn't have a great week last week, but he still got a ton of targets. He's aggressive too to the ball. When you watch him play,
he goes up.
Good receiver, excellent talent. He's going to be a star. I mean, we can see that already.
And that's the thing. If you're looking for a player to plug in for week to week, if you're looking for a guy, you want to look for a guy that's out there with targets. Because there's going to be that one week. This guy's constantly getting targets, 8, 9, 10 targets a game. Maybe it's not a big game here and there. Maybe he plays for New Orleans. Maybe he plays for a lower team, let's say. If the guy's getting the targets, he's going to bust 1 or 2 out. So You're looking for that third option receiver. Your target guy is the guy you want to put in. But so we talked about the good, and now we're getting to the bad and the ugly. What about your 6, John?
We're looking at the list. We have the same guy at quarterback, and that's Nix.
We do.
I thought he had a great week last week. We saw that. We think that breakout game man, they're going against the Texans defense, has been stellar.
Number one, John, for fewest points allowed by quarterbacks.
Right.
There's only 2 quarterbacks, so far in 8 weeks that they have allowed over 15 points. And that was Mayfield and Mac Jones. Everybody else, they've held that quarterback to under 15 points. Bo Nix, so here's the deal. It depends on what league you're in now. Now, if you're in, like, you start 2 quarterbacks, if you're in a super flex league, obviously you're going to play Bo Nix.
Right.
If Bo Nix is your starter, if you have nobody else, then obviously you're playing Bo Nix. But if you have that option, like another quarterback, somebody that you might have that could possibly in the top 10, like a Kyler Murray or somebody like that, or the Dak Prescott, I sit Nix this week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for as good as he looked last week, playing against that defense, it's an entirely different thing. This is going to be low scoring. We know that from these 2 teams. 2 great defenses go up against each other. But you know what's going to happen. We'll see at the end of the game, it'll be like a 35-30 final. Just because
it always happens,
it happens
man.
all the time.
Every time we bash a team or you bash a guy, it always burns our ass, right? It's just the way it goes with fantasy, man. You can never know. But one thing you can always say, if these are your starters, these are your number 1 players, you don't sit them, you start them. Whether it's on our sit or start league, if Bo Nix is your only quarterback and the quarterback, you still start him. We throw this out there for you that have the luxury choices that maybe you have 2 or 3 quarterbacks that you have the possibility to start this week. Maybe you have Nix, maybe you have Love, somebody like that. I would start Love. I would start, Murray. I would start anybody over Bo Nix right about now. Except for your Cam Wards and things like that. I might even go on a deep end and say I'd start Aaron Rodgers over Bo Nix this week, John.
I think I actually would. You're right. I mean, you look at the matchup. Indy. It seems like when Pittsburgh has a game or 2 games like they've had, they're looking at the number 1 rushing offense in the league now coming in. I could see the defense playing well. And if the defense doesn't come back and play well in this game, I really think that there needs to be some pressure from the Rooneys on his coaching staff already. I mean, it's time to light these guys up. If you light a fire and it still continues to happen, we need to get some changes here. But I'm
going to say this, John, for a defensive-minded coach and a defensive-minded team, you can't go out and have these teams hang over 30, 35, 40 points on you every week and expect to win games, especially with a 43-year-old quarterback, especially with only 1, star receiver in Metcalf, who we both know is not the greatest route runner. And then with the skeptical, granted, Gainwell's been good. Warner's been good. I don't want to say good, but decent enough. The team doesn't have the starters to get him through. And if the defense, if your team's coming in hanging 40 on you, you're not winning.
It's tough. It's tough.
It is. It really is. But let's talk about the ugly at running backs, John. Who do you got?
I have Alvin Kamara. How many times do you hear anybody say Alvin Kamara's name when you're talking about the ugly? But the guy only had, what did he have last week? 6 touches, 8 touches. I know he had 2 receptions, 6 carries, 21 yards. It's something's going on there. I don't know if he's injured or what. You got the rookie quarterback starting this week.
Yeah,
it's a bad sign when you see this guy, in the ugly section. So, but that's my ugly for this week. How about you?
So I'm going with Jordan Mason. I don't want to quite call it ugly, but I'm going to call it bad. You have the touches. Jones comes back now. So, and I can't believe it that, I actually thought at the beginning Mason was going to take us over, but now it looks like Mason's going to take a back seat to Jones the way, it's looking. Mason, now second in pecking order. And plus they're going to get against the Lions. The Lions defense, they're number 1 against running backs and points scored. They're solid at stopping the run. I think if you had a chance to start either Mason or Aaron Jones this week, I think you start Aaron Jones only for the fact that he's a better pass catcher out of the backfield. I think you're going to start to see Mason slip here.
It's a shame too. I mean, this kid, started out great. When he had a chance to get in there over Jones. We saw him in San Francisco last year. And that's the reason he got to this point. J.J. McCarthy coming back this week. What are we going to see out of him too? You're talking Detroit. You're going to have to put points up against these guys.
There's no doubt.
Catching back. Yeah.
Once you get Gibbs running off, once you give the Sun God, Amon-Ra running, and then I actually think another start. If you have Goff on your team, you start Goff this week too. He's another good start. I think the Lions are going to hang a ton of points. I'm looking at 40 points out of the Lions this week. It's a stretch, but I really think they're going to put it up on Minnesota.
I think so too.
We're starting to run a little late here, John, so we have to run these fast. What about receiver? Who's your ugly this week?
Oh, I got a list here. Let me get my list out. My ugly this week, and we were just talking about this game, but this is my number one ugly of the week, and that's Jamison Williams. What happened here? We saw this guy getting a ton of targets, scoring touchdowns, and he was doing everything just as well as Amon-Ra was. But now he just fell off the face of the earth. I mean, he's getting, low targets every game. I think it's the system. I really do.
Too many mouths. It's the system, and it's the system, and too many mouths to feed. When you have Gibbs out of the backfield catching the ball, you have Amon-Ra, you have Laporta. Williams, as good as he is, and I love Jameson Williams, but he becomes an afterthought in that offense.
That's right.
Now, granted, I mean, we're talking about it right now. We're talking about the ugly, but very well he could bust out for that. 2 receptions for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? It's. I want to put it past him, but he's not getting the targets that you would expect to get out of your number 2 receiver. On my thought of it, but I'm going with a rookie in my bad, and that's Matthew Golden. They're going against of all teams the Panthers, right? He's only had 41 yards receiving in the last 2 weeks. Now you've got Christian Watson coming back, which is going to be the guy that's going to open up the deep ball. I mean, Watson's always good. Let's face it, Watson to go out, he'll run like 5 minutes and he'll be hurt again. But, if he stays healthy, the ball I think is going to go to Watson. It's going to go to Dobbs. I think Golden is actually going to fall out. It's supposed to be your number 2 receiver in that offense, right? I mean, he was actually 5th in receptions last week on that whole team. And we know Love spreads the ball around, but when you're falling is your 5th receiver, it's time to sit him. And let's talk actually Carolina, I have it written down here too, is they're the 3rd fewest PPRs against receivers. So as much as Carolina stinks and they can't win, they're not that bad against the receivers.
That you brought up Carolina, and the team, they've had some bad games. Obviously, last week, with Bryce was out. You had Andy Dalton. I mean, he just looked totally clueless out there. But that defense has been playing well. At certain times, and you look at that secondary, and what Dave Canales has done with that team, is impressive. I mean, we were looking at the lowest ranked team in the NFL, the 32nd ranked to start this season. And, these guys are winning games. They're competitive. It's going to take a few years, but, we're going to get there.
Can't believe it. I mean, there's a chance, could the Panthers make the playoffs this year, John?
That's really stretching it. That's pushing it, but that, it's going to be a good team eventually. I mean, we see some stars come up. It's, I think it's a little ways off, but I like what he's doing out there. I think he's coaching them very well with what he has.
Well, John, I hate to say it. It's that time, man. It's time to wrap up another week. Again, if any of your plumbing needs, clogged sewer, you need a drain put in, you need any kind of backup, First Do Plumbing. Give them a call. They're there for all your plumbing needs. John, the guru of the gridiron, thank you very much. We'll be this again. I can't believe it, man. We're getting close. Week 10.
Crazy.
And hopefully we have better news. There's less injuries we talk about. Like I said, anybody out there, give us a call. Send it in. You want to start, you want to sit, who you want to pick up. You have a question, give us a call. Again, we're the Rockin' Renegades, Fantasy Football, Sports 5. Thank you, and peace.
Peace.